Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It's Axel Phillips here with the last 6 games of the NRL. This is Every Point's a Winner. Thanks for joining us. We were unlucky last night. The hog, Mr. Kennedy, was calling in the Cronulla versus Dolphins game, was calling Breton Nakora to wrap around him, and he decided to throw a dummy to him. And he had a clear line right through to the try line, and it cost us a beautiful double because, of course, our standout was Herbie Farnworth. Anyway, Herbie got a little bit of our money back, but it was a pretty. If you're a Cronulla fan, it was a good game. Overall, NRL fan, I think it was a disappointing match. There was so many stop-start decisions in the game. It had no flow. And there's no doubt about it, though, the Dolphins are sadly lacking and missing Cody Nikorima because Katoa had one of his worst games. He seemed to be a bit listless without the inventiveness of Cody Nikorima. They fought back into the match in the final 20 minutes, and it looked like they were going to win it. And there was 2 forwards both going for the ball. And it was big Rudolph who saved the game and saved the day for Cronulla Sharks. They just looked like they took their foot off the accelerator once Dolphins scored that amazing kick-through try. Anyway, let's get on to what's important. The last 6 matches of this semi sort of split round post-origin. It is tonight or this afternoon. There is a tonight game from 7 o'clock. That's Cowboys and the Bulldogs. And then the mid-afternoon game, it's Dragons versus Roosters. Very interesting, 11th versus 10th. So they'll both be busting to get up there. And at 3 o'clock, in only about 3 hours away, we have the Knights versus Storm. And this is at McDonald Jones Stadium. I would imagine that most of the ground is fairly good now to run on, and there should be no excuses for either side. Let's have a look at the team list, and then we'll go straight to the anytime try scorers, see if we can whittle some money up and get our $15 back from last night that Kennedy took off us. Get back, Kennedy. Get back, Kennedy. Really disappointing, mate. And he, strangely enough, he talked to one of the ABC reporters after the game saying, we're all about, playing as a team. How you could do that and go for the try line yourself. You're lucky you didn't cost your side the victory, honestly, and it could have come down to your selfishness. All right, Mr. Kennedy, I've had enough bagging of you. And Sharks, I still think if they improve, they can be in the playoffs, but I can't see them going any better than a semi-final. I really can't. All right, let's get on to this match. There's ins and outs anyway for Melbourne and the Knights. Leo Thompson's back, so that's good news, and Greg Marzu for the Knights. But the biggest thorn in the Knights' side, apart from having a very ordinary start to the year and through the middle of the season here, it's losing Fletcher Sharp, one of their best players, and their captain, Kalen Palmer. So anyway, they'll do the best they can. It looks like Gagai is the captain today. Leo Thompson will help the forwards, and they got Saifidi back. And so they're going to be good in the forwards. But I'll tell you what, the fact that Utokamano is coming back from an average game in the Origin, but Trent Liera had a blinder. He's the 3rd replacement or interchange, so I'd like to see him come onto the field in the early part of the second half. I think he's going to cause a bit of trouble there for Newcastle Knights. And Joe Chan has finally got a full run there in the centres with Jack Howarth as number 18. He's had some issues. Bradley goes to the wing for Melbourne. Wishart starts at the 6. Very interesting, alongside of Jerome Hughes. Utakamono's up against Saifidi. Kaikamiki, is that how you say it? Kaikamiki is up against Saifidi. Bronson Garlic up against Phoenix Crossland. Josh King against Leo Thompson. Sean Bloor, I'm expecting a fairly good game for him against Dylan Lucas. Dylan Lucas, he is a game changer if he gets fed the ball enough. And Ponga and Fletcher Sharp used to feed him the ball regularly. So I still worry about Lucas not getting the ball enough. Jack Cogger, yeah, he needs to have an outstanding game here because he's really got to mark up on Jerome Hughes. And Marju, if his ball handling is on, Newcastle really need to get out to a good start. They can't let Melbourne go in early. Melbourne are gung-ho to get a top 3, top 4 spot, and they're up there at the moment anyway. And Harry Grant looks like he's a replacement. He busted his backside there in that win for Queensland in the final series of the State of Origin. Schiller's also the replacement if there's any major injuries. Thomas can't. And Tua Malatu, bro. Okay, and we haven't heard of him, and the NRL haven't even got a picture of him, but he won't get the run nonetheless. Okay, so let's go straight over to the anytime try score. Head-to-head, it's $1.37 for the Storm, playing away from home. $3.20 for Knights. If you think Knights are going to cause the boil over of the century without Kalapong and Sharp, then you're braver than I. But there was a couple of good upsets last weekend, wasn't there? So let's have a look here, and we'll go straight across to the value. $3 on the TAB. They're asking for my fingerprint. The technology, eh? $3 head-to-head Newcastle, $1.40 Melbourne. It's in 3 hours' time. Let's click on that and go straight to any time try scorer. Now, the last time they played, it was Melbourne 36. It was a high-scoring affair, 36-28. So they basically won by 8 points or 2 tries. And that was at Amy Park. And it was around a similar time, a little bit earlier last year of this time, which is now, what are we in now? July. Okay, anytime try scorer here. Grant Anderson opens up the market at $1.70. Kane Bradley $1.75. Sean T. Brown $1.80. Nick Meaney $2. That's where the value starts from Nick Meaney onwards. Dominic Young $2.25. Greg Marzu has not had a very hot and cold season and been in and out of first grade. Had a few niggling injuries. $2.40. James Schiller $2.50, and he's not even getting a run as far as we know, unless there's any late changes or injuries. Joe Chen $3.25. Sean Bloor $3.50. Harry Grant, well, he's $3.50, but I don't think he'll get the run. I really doubt it. Dane Gagai is $4.25. He hasn't scored forever and a day. Bronson Garlic scored 2 or 3 matches ago for Melbourne. He's $4.75. Jackson Hastings on the sad passing of one of his parents. I think it was his mother. But you want to check that out. But yeah, all the best to you, mate. That's going to be very difficult for you to play under those grievance circumstances. Jackson Hastings. So hopefully you have a big game, mate. Josh King hasn't gone over for quite some time now. All the forwards are out 6-7-1. Cogger hasn't scored for quite a while, 7-1, but he's dangerous sometimes around the ruck area there. And Leo Thompson, for some reason, that crashed on me. It changed pages, and we're back to where we want to go to. Okay, I am tipping Melbourne, and I think they will. I don't think it'll be a total thrashing. I really hope it isn't for the local fans up there at McDonald's Jones Stadium and for the locals that have busted their gut and put up with a lot of rubbish this year from the Knights. But the Knights always try hard, and let's see how they go here. We're going to open up for a little bit of value here. We always check in Jahrome Hughes. We might steer away from him just for a second here. And let's start off our first banker. How could you not start it with Elise Katoa? He's usually our standout. Put him in at 250, Elise Katoa. Then I'm going to have the second banker as Bradman Best at 260, so both good value there. Then we're going to punch out to Jahrome Hughes for the third leg at 275. I'm going to go for one of the forwards here, Asofa Solomona at 4-1 as the fourth leg. And as the fifth leg, a surprise guy I'm putting in here is Trent Liero. He hasn't scored for some time, and he may not get the full match, but I think depends how gassed he is as well. It is a bit of a rank outsider tip. I'm going to chuck in Trent Liero, and I'm also going to put in Jackson Hastings. He hasn't scored forever and a day, but in honour of his mother, I'm going to put him in there as the reserve bencher for our anytime try scorers there. Let's get on to the second match today. It's St George versus Sydney Roosters, and it is at Cogra Jubilee Stadium. Perfect weather for a game down there, but just make sure you take your winter woolies with you, because once that sun goes down off the hill, as it fades into the west, you will be freezing there, because the breeze comes straight up the road from Botany Bay, and you will be cold, trust me. It usually comes all the way up here around the Hurstville or 2222 area. Okay, let's have a look here, and we'll go over to the team changes and what have you, see who's in and out. St George and Cronulla are my bogus sides as far as doing really well with any time try scorers, so we will be going lightly on this match, despite if we like Roosters. I always either don't play that St George game. After last night, I nearly refused to play any Cronulla games, because when you have these try scorers that you rely on every week, Cronulla, you don't know who's going to turn up, and St George are very much the same. A lot of pundits are tipping a big upset here, and that St George will keep on their running way or their winning way. Let's have a look at the team list here, which is really important. So ins and outs, Hamish Stewart is in. Luciano Leilua, that's a big inclusion for St George, and Valentine Holmes, who had a reasonable game in the Origin. In for the Roosters, Angus Crichton, Billy Smith, Connor Watson, Lindsay Collins. Didn't he have a big game in the Origin? Robert Toya, another big game in the Origin. Sam Walker is back. Spencer Leniu, Victor Radley. So on paper, you would honestly have to say St George will have to bring this double, triple, super A game here to beat Roosters with that lineup just on paper. Ben Johnson is out. Lalui and Va'a, Makatoa, McCarthy, Smith and Tom Rodwell are out for East, and also out for St George's Fafita and Songranas, the Greek. Okay, so let's go across here and look at the matchups. It's James Tedesco against Gutherson, the old legends, head-to-head there in the fullback position. We're keeping our whistle wet here. Valentine Holmes up against Toya. Some really good matchups here. Sione Fino against Mark Nawazi. King Togia against Hugo Savala. Yeah, very interesting. Kyle Flanagan up against Sam Walker. Great to see Sam Walker back. What a horrendous injury and time he's had off the sideline, and he was a game breaker for East. So whether it takes a couple of games to hit his full straps, it may well do. So for a long away from the game, and you can play the lower grades, but the difference is amazing in first grade, the sheer speed of it. Michael Mollo, Spencer Leamy, both interchanges. Egan Butcher, Blake Laurie, interchange. The first two interchanges, Hamish Stewart and Blake Steep for both sides there. Jacob Little, who's the super sub, and Zach Dockery Clay there. For Keddy up against Suwa. Suwa has been having a big game the last couple of games for St George. DeBellin up against Victor Radley. That's a really good matchup. I honestly wish Victor Radley would start wearing headgear, because he's on the point of his career where he has 2 or 3 more failed HIAs, and that's going to be the end of Victor Radley. So it wouldn't be a bad idea. He's got a big skull, so whether they could custom make him with the money these guys are on. Lindsay Collins up against David Clement. It's a pretty good matchup for Lindsay. Connor Watson up against Damien Cook. Geez, this is going to be a fairly entertaining match if you're willing to go down to Jubilee and take your Parker with you this afternoon. Let's go straight across to what we really want to talk about, and that's the anytime try scorer. St George have come up at 2.55 here. Sydney Roosters at 1.52. Fairly strong favourites. That's 5 hours away. Let's click on that. The last time they met, Roosters destroyed, and that was around Anzac Day, wasn't it? I remember being down at the St George Sailing Club, and I couldn't believe what I was seeing, because St George were expected to play well in that match, and they got thrashed 46-18. So that was back on Anzac Day weekend, and they're running 10th with 7 wins and 8 losses, the Roosters, and St George 6 wins and 9 losses. So this is a vital game for both of them. More so, I feel, for St George. So will that desperation lead to a success, or are they just got too much strength across the park, the Roosters? And it depends a lot how good Sam Walker goes. Let's have a look at the anytime try scorers here. And opening up the market is Mark Nawazi at $1.70, and Daniel Tupou, of course, on the wings, the 2 wingers. Then starting off the 2-1 is James Tedesco, Siona Fino, Corey Allen, Clint Gutherson, 240, all around about the same price. And when you get out to closer to 3-1, you've got Robert Toya, Feketi, Savala, Angus Crichton, 325. How gassed are these guys going to be? He busted his gut. I don't know. Is he that much of a warhorse? He may not get too much of a run, Angus Crichton. Lincoln King Togia is really good value there at 4-1. Sam Walker 4s. Jaden Sewer 425. Cole Flanagan 5s. He's gone over the last 2 matches, strangely enough. I can't catch him. Loco Pacifici Toga is 550. We don't know how much time he'll get. Jack DeBellin scored one of his rare tries of the season 3 matches ago. Lindsay Collins, good value there at 9-1. We might have him as a backside leg here. But let's have a look and start off some value here for our anytime try score. Our first and second bankers are very, very important. I am going to start off with Robert Toya because of his confidence coming out of the Origin. 275 is a pretty good first leg. Robert Toya for Sydney Roosters, 275. I have a feeling Valentine Holmes will go up. I don't want to have him as a main leg. I'm going to have him as the third leg. So the second leg for the Roosters, I'm going to have Billy Smith. Now, there's a little bit of an omen in this tip for me. The original Billy Smith that played all those hundreds of games for St George and was a legend of St George along with Graham Langlands back in the 70s. I have a feeling he will score for his namesake here, Billy Smith. So he's going to be our standout banker. Plus, he's a really good player. He missed the last match, though, and we did stand him out, but he didn't get the run. So 275, they're two good standout legs for Sydney Roosters because we are tipping the Roosters here. Then we're going to chuck in Valentine Holmes for your third leg. For your fourth leg, Lindsay Collins, because he's very, very good value. And then we're going to go across to Jacob Little at 550. The reason why I'm tipping Jacob Little, he hasn't scored for some time now. I think if he's strategically placed on there and Easter a little bit gassed and start to get a little bit of fatigue into the that's when Jacob Little is very good at Cogra Jubilee. So there you go. There's your and you can chuck in any of the other try scorers and even Mark Nawazi as your reserve leg there if you've got enough money, including Terrell Sloan or Tedesco, but you can't spread it that wide. Let's get on to the next match. It is North Queensland and Bulldogs. And this is tonight at 7:37. North Queensland have come up at 2.55. Bulldogs at $1.52. And we need to have a look at go to the NRL website and have a look at the ins and outs here. This is very important for this match. It is up at Queensland Country Bank Stadium in Townsville. It'd be nice to be up there at the moment. You reckon it'd be nice spring type of weather, whether it's humid. We'll find out from the broadcasters. It'll be a little bit cooler tonight, but still fairly warm, I'd imagine. Looking at the team list here, ins and outs. Jackson Paulo is in. That's really good. Jeremiah Nanai, he only got about 3.5 minutes in the Origin because Queensland had the game won. Carl Lawton is in for the Cowboys. Reece Robson, Ruben Cotter, he had an outstanding match, and Tom Dearden is in. You think some of these guys will be gassed, then you don't know how much time they're going to get and whether Coach Payton will be shifting them around. I imagine he would, and especially want to look after his stars from the Origin. Depends how the game's going, I'd imagine. Jacob Kiraz is in for the Bulldogs. Jamin Salmon, Jethro Rinakama, Max King, who I thought had a really quiet game in the State of Origin. He did some solid hit-ups, a lot of solid defence, but New South Wales, you know what I thought about New South Wales, and it came down to their halves were a big letdown. Jack Todd, Jake Turpin, and Marcelo Montoya are outs for the Bulldogs. That's interesting. So we'll have to find out who's taken their places. Jake Clifford is out, strangely enough. He had a big game last time. Temple Kalipo, and then Sam McIntyre, Bitagami, John Bateman, and Thomas Duffy is out for the Cowboys. So let's have a look at the matchups here. It's Drinkwater against Connor Tracy. That's a really nice matchup. Robert Darby up against Kiraz. Jackson Purdue up against Bronson Sherry. That's a really good matchup, that one. Zach Laybutt, and it is Anari Tuala on the other centre for the Bulldogs. Braden Burns up against Rinakama. We haven't seen much of Rinakama, so interesting move there from the Bulldogs. Murray Talagi is up with a 22 on his back, up against Matt Burton. That's interesting. Matt Burton is Murray Talagi's playing in the 5'8". Well, this will be really, really interesting. Haven't seen much of Murray Talagi at 5'8". Whether that's going to help them or not, I don't know. Tom Dearden might be able to steer the boys around the park. Depends how gassed he is from the Origin. I'm sure they've still got lactic acid in their muscles. Toby Sexton Like to see him have a big game, but he's got a lot of marking there over Tom Dearden. And then Jordan McLean up against King, Robson against Reed Marnie, Griffith Neen against Samuel Hughes. Griffith Neen's getting a starter's bench. He's not usually coming as a starter. He's usually off the bench. Ruben Cotter up against Kickow. I think Kickow may have a big game here. Jeremiah Nanai up against Jacob Preston. Another good match up there. And Harrison Edwards against Bailey Hayward. And your two main swaps there, Curran and Hayes out of interchange for, and of course, Lockie Galvin, who's, I don't know, he's thrown sort of a spanner in the works as far as their momentum is concerned, the Bulldogs, I believe anyway. Carl Lawton, Thomas McKaylee, and Kai O'Donnell is pretty good, and Cohen Hess is the last interchange for the Cowboys. Let's go across now and have a look at the TAB. And 255 there for the North Queensland. It's been a bit of spec money for them, and $1.52. Bulldogs blowing out 2 points there. Okay, so let's have a look and click on that and go have a look at what happened last time. Can you believe Bulldogs got thrashed last time, but it was at Eight-Course Stadium. It wasn't up at the home ground of Townsville there. 44-6. Cowboys put it through them, and that was the 9th month of last year. That was a surprise horror loss by the Bulldogs there. They won't want to repeat that. Anytime try scorer here. Jacob Kiraz is the favourite at $1.70. Then Anari Tawala, $1.75. Robert Darby is the first of the $2 speckies. Braden Burns, $2.25. Bronson Sherry hasn't scored for a while. He has been marked up a lot, $2.25. I'm expecting Kickout to give him a few balls out in the second phase there, Bronson Sherry, so we might chuck him in the backside. Scott Drinkwater went over again last time, of course. He's 3-1. Matt Burton went over last time. He's also 3-1. Galvin, 350. We need to see more from Galvin. He had a bit of a shocker last time. Reed Marnie, 450. He was very close to scoring. And the other boys, Jaden Salmon, 475. All the forwards and beyond around 6-1 mark. So let's lead out here. I think we can lead out with Scott Drinkwater at $3 there. The only thing I'm concerned about every time I lead out with him, he doesn't score. But we're going to go against the grain here and expect him to score in the last 3 matches. Went over in the 2 previous matches. I think he is always around where the action is, so we're going to put him in anyway. Scott Drinkwater as our first banker there at 3-1. We're having Valami Kickow at $2.90 as our second banker for Canterbury. Then we're going to head back to Jacob Preston at $2.50 for our third leg. Our fourth leg, it would be remiss of us not to put in Jackson Parlu, an amazing try the very last match, through a gap, just sheer acceleration. The ones that I would have as the emergency there would be Nanai, because you're going to get good value, and that would be the 6th legger and Reed Marnie at $4.50. Let's go to the next match. So I honestly think the Bulldogs will hold on there. Geez, they need to win, though I wouldn't be surprised if North Queensland put one of their best matches up in Townsville for some time. So I'm 50-50 either way, 1-12. I'm not confident, but I'll be tipping the Bulldogs there to cause a little bit of an upset, even though they are favourites. I think it's not going to be as easy as what we think, but it's Bulldogs' time to stand up and be counted. If this continues on this losing streak, they're going to be in all sorts of trouble as we head towards the backside of this competition. Okay, so let's go on to the next match. Now, the next match will be, and that's tomorrow, the 3 games tomorrow, Warriors versus West Tigers. And it is $1.47 Warriors, and Tigers have got to travel at $2.70. Coming off their surprise win over East, we need to go and have a look at the ins and outs for the competition. Okay, for the game on Sunday, let's go to players here, ins and outs. Okay, we'll just move down. And it is at Go Media Stadium in Auckland. Team list ins and outs. This is really important. Okay, Bunty Afawa is in, which is very good. Watini Zalesniak is in also on the wing there for the Warriors. In also is Aima Tiava. I think I'm saying that right. Iremia Tayava. I haven't heard much of him. Samuel Healy. Then you have Tuapiki. God, I've been waiting for him to come back for so long. He reminds me of Kaya Weeks so much. He's lethal off the mark speed he's got, and those little legs. He's got little strong legs and very low to the ground. Tuapiki, he's very lethal. But let's see if he gets in the starting lineup. He's in. Whether he's on benched, I don't know. And of course, the horrendous Barnett out for the season. Clockstat, he's not out for the season. Clockstat, he needs to come back ASAP, but we don't know how bad that injury is. And Luke Metcalf looks like he's gone for the season as well. One of their best players all year so far. Api Coruscant is in for West Tigers. Heath Mason in, Jack Bird, and it looks like Jerome Luai back in after the origin. He may be a little bit gassed, but I reckon the teams did all right last week without him. Okay, so let's have a look here. The matchups. Harris Tavita against Luai. That's a good matchup. Tuivasa Sheck against Skelton. Star Fatawa against Berry. Berry's one of my favourite players for New Zealand, along with Luke Metcalf and Halasima. I'm getting a little bit hoarse here. Tuapiki is playing fullback. Fantastic. He's up against Sunia Taruva, who handled fullback pretty good last week, I thought. But the three brothers, the Fainu brothers, all played fantastically well. Terrell May needs to pick up here, and he's up against some big brothers too. And he really needs to shine here. I know he's a workhorse. I'd like to see him attack the line a little bit more in this game. He's going to have to, because this is a big forward pack. Even with all their injuries, they've got a great forward bench, including Leka Halasima, who's actually getting a starting off the starting lineup this time. And you've got Tiari Martin, Jacob Laban, another great player. Viamunga, what a great bench they've got, honestly. Seafarth benching with Hope and Fainu, Siana Fainu for the Tigers. So let's go across here. I'm really happy. I'm really, really happy that Roger Tuivasa is on one wing and Zalesniak is on the other. Berry's in the centre. I can't tip past Warriors here. I think they need to just play to their usual strengths. And I'm really confident that Adam Pompey will have a big game as well. So let's have a look here and go straight across to the TAP. Not bad value at $1.49, but you can't take that unless you're putting it in a massive parlay league or what have you. I wouldn't be taking the head-to-head Warriors. There's other ways we can go around here, and I think we can get the anytime try scores. I'll be more confident with this game. Okay, so let's click on that game here and have a look. I'm still stuck on that page there. Let's go to the anytime try scorers. Okay, fourth on the ladder is the Warriors. 14th, and trying to stay away from the wooden spoon, is West Tigers. And as we click on to the anytime try scorers, it is Zalesniak as the hot favourite here at $1.65 to cross. Tuivasa Sheck, never get him even money these days, $1.70, which is a shame. He's such a prolific try scorer. Luke Lalili for the Tigers is $2.30. He leads the market for the 2-1 shots, and Charlie Staines, who went over for us last week. Rocco Berry, $2.50. A little bit skinnier than what I usually like. Luca Halasima, $2.75. That's really good. Surprising how good West defence was last week, but it's going to have to be good because this is a very creative side, the Warriors. Once they're on and they're hungry in front of their home crowd, they're going to be very, very hard to beat here as far as I'm concerned. Let's have a look here. Any other value? There's 5-1. Epic Coruscant, 5.5-1. Jerome Luai, 5. He hasn't gone over for quite some time. And if we go back to the centres, Adam Dewey, 4.25. He hasn't scored forever and a day. Latu Fine is 4-1. Fairly good value there. Jacob Laban's coming off the bench. I do like Jacob Laban. He hasn't scored for 2 matches. Tiari Martin hasn't scored for a while. Kurt Capewell, what a sensational game he had in the Origin. How gassed he'll be, who knows? He's super fit, especially for his age. Luca Halasima, I don't want to lead out with him, even though he's starting. He's going to be around our selections, but I don't want to lead out with him. Let's lead out with Rocco Berry at 250 here. Rocco Berry at 250. That's very, very good odds. And then we're going to say Charlie Staines for West Tigers, our second banker. Although we're tipping the Warriors, I think it'll be tries scored all over the park. So Rocco Berry as our first try scorer, as our main banker. Charlie Staines is our second banker. Now, as our third banker, I'm going to say Tan Tuapiki because he's one of my favourite players as well. 230. And then we're going to, for our fourth leg, I'd love to chuck in Roger Tuivasa-Sheck, but $1.70 is not going to squeeze much value out of the return here. So let's chuck in Lika Halasima, even though he's starting, at $2.75. And we're going to chuck in Adam Pompey as the fifth leg there. Adam Pompey for the Warriors. And if you like Chanel Harris-Davida, chuck him in at $3.10 as a reserve. I'd also entertain Jake Laban at 4-1 if I'm winning coming into this match. You can't keep on putting all the players in there for your reserve leg, but depending on how you feel, he is a pretty good forward, and I think he could cause a boil over here. All right, let's get on to the next match before I fall into oblivion, and we'll wind this out. This is our penultimate match, and it is the page just closed. Damn. It is Parramatta versus Penrith. The War of the West. Parramatta at $3.10. Penrith $1.38. Will Penrith continue on their winning way? Geez, I'll tell you what, Cleary and some of the boys from Penrith need to pick up their game, but they're only up against Parramatta. So you can look at why the value is in Parramatta there at $3.10. Just on the edge of the 8 is Penrith, running 8th and 15th. Parramatta trying to stay away from that wooden spoon. Last time they met, Parramatta went down 18 points to 10 to the Panthers. And let's have a look at the ins and outs before we make any more progress here. I don't know why that keeps on going to that page, but we'll get where we want to go in 1 second. Here we go. Team list for the Parramatta game and ins and outs. Bailey Simonson is in for Parramatta. And it looks like Ronald Volkman, Tuivasa, De Silva, Talon De Silva. There's the move. That's interesting, isn't it? Coming over from West, so he's already getting a start. Tony Matali. And then you have, for the Panthers, Dane Laurie and Jack Cole Somerton, Eisenhuth, Maverick Guy, Preston Ricky. And so let's have a look at the teams here. Oh, he's definitely resting. Yeah, he's definitely resting. Who's the captain then? He's definitely resting Cleary, who I can't see him here anyway. Alamonte up against Josh Adokar, Blake Talungi against Dylan Brown. It's a shame because when Moses is fit, Dylan Brown becomes a better player. Without Moses there, they're a little bit lost. Even with Dean Hawkins' inexperience, I don't like Dylan Brown, and we've stood him out once. I think the last time they played, and he didn't look like scoring. So I don't think we'll be leading out with Dylan Brown here. But I'm just looking who's taking the spot. Brad Schneider. Last time, strangely enough, when he took Cleary's spot, he had a very good game, Brad Schneider. So he's taking Cleary's spot in the 7 there. Mitch Kearney, the best defender in the NRL game in 2024 and 2025. You won't find a better defender than him. He's a man, and he'll hit you hard. He'll hit you good, and he'll hit you hard. Luke Garner, Isaiah Papali'i, Eisenhuth is the second row against Jamie Hopgood. De Silva's the first of the interchange. Yeah, I'd like to see him play well for Parramatta, to be honest with you. He just didn't get enough chances at the West Tigers. Dylan Edwards, surprisingly, is the reserve with Volkman. To'o reserve. Yeah, they'll only get the run if there's any late pullouts or injuries or they won't get the assigned to this team. But they've still got a good team across the park here. I honestly can't see them losing here at Penrith, even though it is at Parramatta's home ground. I can't see them losing here, Penrith. So let's say Penrith 1-12. I wouldn't laugh at you, though, if you told me Parramatta will cause an upset at 1-12. I wouldn't mind that either. However, for our anytime try scorers as well, we will mind it because we're going to lead out with a couple of Penrith players, I believe, here. Cleary's in the market here. Why is he in the market and he's not on the page of the NRL website? That's really, really strange. I hope that doesn't come back to haunt me. I really do. Anyway, that's strange. I'm going to have one more look at the teams here. McLean, Alamonte, Talagi, Brad Schneider. Maybe it's a mistake from the TAB. No, he's not on the list. He is not on the list, Cleary. No. All right. Anyway, they've given a market with Cleary in there. So if you like him for any time try score, I don't think he's going to get the run. All right. Let's have a standout here. The Paul Alamonte's leading the market at $1.60. Then you can go out. To'o is marked here, but they're reserves. But anyway, they've got to put him in the market, I guess. $1.65. Jenkins $1.65. He's not one to lead out with, and I'll never lead you into odds on for one of our first or second bankers here. So I would say one that's going to really, really cross for us here. I do like Bailey Simonson, but not as a banker. Josh Adokar's good value there at $2.20. Let's lead out with Josh Adokar. He scored last game, but even though we're tipping Penrith, I'm going to lead out with Josh Adokar at $2.20. Zach Lomax had one of the worst games he could have ever had in NRL State of Origin history. It all went to crap for poor Zach Lomax, but geez, it put pressure on New South Wales last Wednesday. I'm going to lead out with him, but I also want to lead out with a Penrith player as well. And I don't want to snag up Thomas Jenkins at $1.65, even though I think he's going to go over there. Nothing's really jumping out here as much as I thought it originally was. Talon Silva's fairly good odds. Dylan Walker. Geez, this is a really strange market. Liam Henry, Preston Ricky, Brad Schneider. Could Brad Schneider go over? I don't want to lead out with him though. Jack Cole, he might be the value there. Let's chuck in Jack Cole as our second leg there, or our second banker, Jack Cole. So you got him. Then for the third leg, we're going to chuck in Luke Garner as our third leg for Penrith. Our fourth leg, we're going to steer it back towards Blaze Talangi because he's good value at $2.50. Our fifth leg, Bailey Simonson at $2.50. And I have to chuck him in because he's got me several times. Thomas Jenkins as our fifth leg at $1.65. So there's not that much value there unless you're going to chuck in Dylan Edwards, but you don't know how gassed some of these players are. So it's wouldn't be one of my favourite betting propositions this game. Let's go to the next match. I still think Penrith have enough on paper through their defence and attack, and I think they have enough on paper. But I wouldn't be surprised to beat Parramatta, but I wouldn't be surprised if Parramatta caused the boil over there either. So I could go either way. Now, this next and last game we're covering before we wrap it up here, it is the last of the Sunday matches, Gold Coast versus Brisbane. And actually, there's another match, isn't there? No, that's the last match, thank goodness. It's Gold Coast versus Brisbane. Gold Coast 3:30. This time last year, if you have a look at the results, they actually caused a major boil over. Brisbane went out to a good lead, and Gold Coast just scored try after try after try, and Brisbane's season went into a disarray. $1.34 is very stout in the market here. Probably the shortest of all the games is Brisbane, even though it is at not Suncorp Stadium, it's at GIO Stadium here for the Gold Coast hosting the opposition there, the Queensland Brotherhood. Okay, let's go straight into our anytime try scorers. Joshua Karapani, $1.65, a little bit skinny, leading the market there with Selwyn Cobbo. Delise Herder, $1.60. Jesse Arthurs, $1.60. We do need to have just a quick little look at the NRL website to see who's definitely in and who's definitely out. But it changes overnight as well. Actually, there is another match, It's the Broncos and the Titans, right? So we need to rip through this Parramatta game very, very quick. No, what are we talking about? We're up to the Gold Coast Broncos game. Let's have a look at the team list here. AJ Brimson up against Reece Walsh. He'd be excited to finally get a run after being benched for the State of Origin. So expect a big game from him, in fact. Shibasaki's back. No wonder they're hot favourites. Katoni Staggs playing out of his skin finally. Xavier Willison, one of my favourite players. Geez, I wish he would have scored last week. We had so many parlays running into him. It looks like the ins and outs here. Fafita is in. David Fafita. Jaden Campbell back. Mullany. Khan Pereira's back. So, interesting. Ben Hunt is back. Teakura. He's one of my favourite players, Benjamin Teakura. Another giant. Shibasaki, Jesse Arthurs, Patrick Carrigan, Payne Huss, and Reece Walsh. Wow, what a game this is going to be. Now, the referee is Liam Kennedy. Interesting. Okay, let's go across here to the anytime try scorer. And we'll wrap it up there once we get this out. It's at 6:15 this match, so you'll be able to have your dinner maybe at halftime, but it's at 6:15, fairly late for some people on a Sunday. But if you're chilling out, you're going to hear a pretty good match on the radio whilst you cook your dinner. Okay, now let's have a look here at the anytime try scorers, which is really, really important. Katoni Staggs is jumping out at me straight away at 2:30, and so is Shibasaki at 2:05. That's good value. How gassed is he? That's the only question. Philip Sami, 2:20. Can you believe he went over last time? And Bremson, 2:90. Jaden Campbell, 4-1. Geez, I can't catch Jaden Campbell. He didn't score last game. Both Fermor, although he went over last game for the Gold Coast Titans, he hasn't scored that many tries this year compared to last year. Could he be the bolter here? Billy Walters killed us in the last match, scoring at 10-1, but we didn't know how much time he'd get off the bench. He's only 450 this time. I think they got stung, the TAB and the sports betting with Billy Walters last time. Reece Walsh is 215. That's the best value you will get. Let's chuck in Reece Walsh as our banker, 215, because if we don't, he's going to be, and he has a big game, he's going to be $1.60, $1.75 like he usually is. So it's allowing, that market is allowing us to have him as our standout banker here. And he owes us a try, because the last two games he hasn't scored, we've had him, and he's let us down. So a bit of a repatriation between EPAW and Reece Walsh here. Let's stand him out with Katoni Staggs at 230. Good value there for Staggs. We had Dean Mariner last time. He's only $1.65 this time. Can't really go there for the third leg for Dean Mariner. We might be able to come back to him. Brendan Piakura, 275. And AJ Brimson are our third and fourth leg. Brendan Piakura, 275. AJ Brimson, 290. There's so many good prolific try scorers in this match. It could go either way. So don't let me put you off your selections, but you know who our bankers are and why we've banked with them. Adam Reynolds, 375. That could be the bolter of the game. Let's chuck in Adam Reynolds, throwing a dummy and going over himself at 375 for our fifth leg. And our emergency at 260 is Ezra Mann, because he's let us down for the last two games. Ezra Mann at 260. All right, guys, ladies and gentlemen. So I honestly think Broncos will win there. It's not going to be easy for them. They don't want to go in there cocky, because Gold Coast have got a lot of their really good players back, and they are desperate not to get the wooden spoon. So, and it's always tough in the home ground up there at Gold Coast. So, ladies and gentlemen, whatever you're doing, enjoy the beautiful weather. Hopefully it's a good game, the St George game coming up after the Newcastle Knights being manhandled by Melbourne. We'll see what happens there. Stranger things have happened. All right. God bless and take care. We'll hopefully do a review before Monday night, or for Monday night of the round, the 7 games that we witnessed this weekend. So until next week, ladies and gentlemen, have a lovely weekend. Bye for now.